Well, hello everyone. Welcome to today's Money Talks in Silicon Valley. And thanks for joining me in an exciting conversation with Dr. Jasmin. Dr. Jasmin is a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, mental and emotional release, and hypnotherapy. She's also a doctor of dental surgery. She's the founder of Mind Power, a coaching company that creates mindset shifts to empower people reaching their goals and living a fulfilled life. Dr. Jasmin, thank you for being here with me.
Thank you, Peter.
It's really good to have you. Now, Dr. Jasmin is also a longtime friend of mine, and we've also been through some coaching through the Landmark organization. So I feel like, I know Jasmin really well, and really excited to actually listen to your story and have you talk to us about, what you do and, who you are. Now, before we begin, I really want to ask you, since you already have a successful and exciting career, I'm sure, in dental surgery, why the addition to personal coaching?
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by the power of the mind, right? And, helping people, utilizing that to help them achieve and transform. And I feel like that's always been my true passion.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, right on. And where does that, how did you develop this passion? When did you discover that you have this passion?
Yeah, I mean, it started at a young age. I remember being a little kid, and my father was practicing medicine at the time in Germany, and he had a patient, and just to cut the story short, who was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer, was basically given a few months to live, and this patient would not accept it. He would say, "No, I'm healthy, I'm well, I'm fine. Let me go back to work." And after several months, and several physicians had diagnosed him. He had gone to a few hospitals, and they all came back with the same diagnosis. And after a few months, when they retested him, they couldn't find the cancer. And my dad wrote an article about it, and I just remember all this interest, all these phone calls, all these letters. It was just this situation where everyone wanted to know, like, what my father did to miraculously heal this patient. And he was like,
Yeah, right?
I didn't do anything. This guy had an amazing mindset. He was just always so positive, always smiling, and even when people told him he was sick, I mean, the word cancer wasn't used in his case, but, when people told him he was really sick, he just wouldn't accept it. He'd be like, "No, I'm well." His wife would tell me, "No, you're sick, you need to rest." And he'd be like, "I'm fine, I'm healthy, I'm great."
Yeah.
And so, that I just remember that story from childhood, and it really got ingrained. And I was like, wow, the mind is so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, you might know that I have an engineering background. So growing up in that kind of an environment where, science and math and technology, you're always just, you're always looking at the science part of it. But as I grow older, I begin to understand that science don't understand how the mind works completely.
Yeah.
In fact, or if anything, completely. But the power of the mind, the more story like this that I hear, the more story I hear about people persevere through their difficulties, actually accomplish something amazing, the more I realize the power of the mind, and how it really contributes to what we accomplish. So,
yeah,
definitely something really interesting. Now, what is a limiting belief?
Yeah, Peter. So limiting belief is a belief that you believe to be true, even though it's not, and it holds you back from reaching your maximum potential.
I see. I see. So something that you believe to be true, but not necessarily so, but it holds you back from reaching your maximum potential. Now,
Yeah, for example, let's say you have a limiting belief that I I cannot earn a certain income, right? Like this kind of
mm,
lifestyle, not possible for me ever. And that's what
yeah,
that's a limiting belief right there.
I work in the areas of finance, and often people here say, I often hear people say that they just can't save money.
Yeah.
Like no matter how much money they're making, they're just struggling to save a high percentage of their income, other than the 401k and maybe some life insurance. They just struggle to save anything beyond that. People say they can't save.
Yeah.
Um, People also have a limiting belief. They say the same thing, something similar about their retirement. People always say that, oh my God, the way that the economy is, or the way that I'm doing it, that I'll never be able to retire. I'll just work until the day I die, or something to that regard.
Yeah, I know a person who has a successful business, and after talking to her, I could see some of her blind spots and blocks. And, she grew up in a really wealthy family in a small
Mm,
town. And when she was a kid, she was hated on a lot because of her family being wealthy. So in school, kids were mean, kind of like all eyes on her type of mentality in that small town. And she developed a belief around money that was something like money's bad.
mm-hmm,
So in her case, even though she has a successful business, every few months she'll be short of money.
mm-hmm,
So even though she's not some like crazy spender, she does certain things that will
mm-hmm.
sabotage her business success because, on a subconscious level, she doesn't
Yeah,
want to have too much money because remember, like her subconscious mind at childhood formed that belief that money's bad, people will be mean to you, right?
right, right. That's so funny that you mentioned that. That reminds me of another client that I worked with, and she is in her mid 50s now, and she lives a very modest living, although she's very talented in art, but she's never taken the initiative to really develop herself, like into a successful career in art.
Right.
And so after learning about her story, I realized that she too had a rather wealthy family in her parents' generation, but her parents never really had to work, but when it came to her generation, all the money's gone
Yeah.
from the family. But the belief that she has developed over the years that her parents have taught her is that money is evil. In fact, if you had money, you made money by standing over somebody else, by trumping over somebody else to make, so that you have money. In order for you to make money, you must have done something dishonest or lack of integrity in order to get that. So her relationship to money, it's so destructive that every time she had an opportunity, every time even people say that, hey, I would hired you for your talent in art, she somehow sabotages herself and ends up where she's at today. It
Yeah.
was a really debilitating belief for her.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
and
That's
and,
incredible.
and it's interesting because the person themselves, they usually don't see this, right?
No.
They
Yeah. Yeah. She couldn't see that. Yeah. When she was describing to me, I mean, it's really clear to me. It's all she created this.
Yeah.
Everything was her perception, but she
Yeah.
was in the thick of it. She couldn't actually
Hmm.
discover that for herself. Um, Now, let me ask you this: can someone have a limiting belief in more than one areas of life?
Absolutely, right? I mean, you can have a health and fitness limiting belief, for example. Let's say there's a weight loss goal they want to achieve, and they're like, well, I'll never be skinny, I will never be fit. It might not even be skinny, that they want to achieve, but let's say there's a certain fitness level they want to achieve, right? Or and then finances, we talked about, for example, I will never earn this income. And
Mm,
then if there's most we have deep limiting beliefs. So let's say there's some limiting belief, which unfortunately a lot of people have, that I'm not good enough.
mm,
Well, that belief will show up all over. It will show up in your career and finances, it will show up in your relationships, it will show up in your health and fitness, etc. and etc. So one limiting belief can be spread over various areas as well.
jeez. Now, where do you think these limiting beliefs come from?
Yeah, so I do a lot of work dealing with the subconscious mind, and those are, I'm talking about deep and limiting belief, deep blocks, and the majority of those come from childhood. So
Mm,
the majority of that, subconscious programming that we absorb happens from age 0 to 7. So very early on, and that's why most people on a conscious level are not even aware what those beliefs are, what they picked up during that time.
mm. Wow, there's zero. I definitely don't remember from that. So how do these? So from your work and your experience working with these people, how do the limiting beliefs impact the people that you met?
I'm sorry, Peter, I didn't hear you. How do limiting
How,
beliefs impact people?
yeah, how do they impact them?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, it prevents you from reaching goals. It prevents you from reaching your maximum potential.
Mm,
I deal with people that are so talented, right? Yet they don't truly believe in themselves, or they have these sabotaging patterns
mm,
and, things that they don't see. And, I love it when people are able to reach their full potential.
yeah, yeah, I definitely can relate to that. So how do people begin to discover some of the limiting beliefs that they may have?
Yeah, I don't think a person will necessarily be able to be aware of all their blind spots and blocks. However, they can become aware of some of them. So, one simple way to do it, to uncover at least some of them, is to think of that next big goal that you want to achieve, right? That big
Mm,
goal that, would make such a big difference for you. If you could achieve this, how amazing that would be. And if they really think about achieving it and what it takes to do it, like the beliefs that come up that are negative, or that kind of would push someone away from it, for example, like, it's too hard, I'm never
mm,
going to be able to make it, I don't have the resources to do it, etc., etc., right? Those are
right,
all limiting beliefs.
right, yeah, I see. I was just, as you were talking about, I was just thinking about something that I have is that I'm Lisa and I, as you know, we're working on this party bus, this RV that we have, right? So we can go
Yeah.
on, road trips. And I was just thinking about like how complicated all of the systems are, and how unworkable that that I maintain a full-time career, and she's working as well, and we have to work on it over the weekend and do the research. How overwhelming everything is, and it was beginning to occur to me as unworkable, like
Yeah. Yeah.
unachievable. So I'm
Yeah.
beginning to, yeah,
Yeah, exactly, Peter, right? Like, people, once they, they really hone in on those beliefs, and then they stay stuck. Instead of
uh,
being like, noticing them and being like, yeah, yeah, that's just a limiting belief. Let me stay in action. Let me keep working towards it.
uh. So how do people break free from their limiting beliefs?
There are various things they can do, For example, I use techniques in mental emotional release, where
Mm,
you can release those beliefs. Hypnotherapy is powerful.
mm,
Um, yeah. And, like, another thing is to, with those techniques, and especially if a person is really committed and they're willing to break out of their comfort zone, and they stick with it, then after some time, a new belief, a new pattern will be introduced, right?
awesome. Cool. Okay, well, thank you for spending time with us today. I mean, I felt like I learned a lot, and definitely began to discover a couple of my own limiting beliefs that I didn't even know I had. So thank you, Dr. Jasmin, for spending the time with us. I assume you have a website. If people needed more information or they want to connect with you, they can go to your website or connect with you there.
Sure thing. First of all, Peter, thank you. It's always a pleasure talking to you. You always are up to interesting and awesome things, and I love it. I love what you and Lisa are
Indeed.
doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do have a website. It's
So, uh,
www.mindpower.com. But yeah, I'll send you the link for that if you like. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. Send me the link, and I will put that in the description below. And again, Dr. Jasmin, thank you for being here. Her company is Mind Power. It's a coaching company that creates mindset shifts to empower you, reaching your goals and living a fulfilled life. So, again, I will have all of the contact information linked below. Thank you for being here today, and you've been watching Money Talks Silicon Valley. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Peter.